people want more energy. People are struggling with this. They don't know how to sleep. They don't know how to act in accordance to what their body's asking them. They don't know how to listen to their body. They're so stressed that it's creating chronic health issues that they don't know how to overcome. And I have the answer and solution. Wow, let's make it a mission.
Everyone, welcome back. My co-host, Mark Rader. What's up, Mark?
What's up, everyone? How we doing?
We have a great guest on this one. It's Justin, and he had to help us pronounce his last name, but I'll tell you, you'll remember it. It's Roth. Let me get this right, Justin. Hold on. Roethlingshoefer.
You got it. Nailed it.
Okay. Oh, good. I got it. Or else Mark would have
How many syllables is that, huh?
knocked me out.
Four syllables.
Clap it out. Clap it out.
I love it. And
the clap.
he currently runs the company Own It, and take a look at the background. There it is. Own It. Own your different. #different. Follow him on Instagram. The very first time I talked to him, it was a connection through our mutual friend Paige, and I was really surprised in a great way of how amazing he and his wife have created this great company to help people. And that's why I'm like, it'd be a great idea to bring him onto this show so that then he can help you. Because what I'm noticing, Justin, right now, a lot of people are freaking out. A lot of people are freaking out mentally, and they hear what's happening out there media-wise, and they really gravitate to the negative, right? And so what you have to offer is coming into this part of you, discovering you, and going in deeper so that you realize, hey, you know what? It's okay. It's different. That's why I loved talking to you, by the way, the first time. And I want you to explain to the audience where you came up with the idea of Own It. And then I want to talk a little bit about the growth here on the entrepreneur side.
Absolutely. So I want to touch on something you said that's really unique. And the first thing that you said was that we tend to lean towards the negative. And that's not on anybody other than human nature. If I was to ask you, if I was to say, Tristan, what do you want? And you'd be like, well, Justin, what do you mean? What do I want? I was like, what does your ideal home look like? You'd be like, well, I don't want to be in the suburbs. I don't want to have a one-story home. And you list everything that you don't want.
Mm.
And the unique part about this is that our minds cannot comprehend the negative. I'll say that again. Our minds cannot comprehend the negative. And so if you're like, I don't want to live in the suburbs and I don't want to have a one-story home, guess what's going to happen? In 3 years, you're going to find yourself living in the suburbs in a one-story home because your mind subconsciously goes, suburbs, one-story home, that's what I'm looking for. So all of a sudden, when somebody goes, oh, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to be caught up in this pandemic. I don't want to be caught up in this recession. I don't want to, your mind goes, oh, they want to lose their job. They aren't happy. They want to get caught up in the pandemic. They want to get caught up in the recession. And so that's what your mind seeks. And so by switching it and coming back to this version of like, what do you want? I want a 4-story home in the heart of downtown Miami with a pool in the backyard, living next to 2 amazing neighbors. Amazing. That's what I'm going to start looking for. And that's in the positive. We do that in our relationship all the time. My wife asked me, what do you want from me? Well, I don't want you to yell at me anymore. Well, it doesn't work. Like it doesn't operate that way. What do you want from me? Honey, I would love it is if you gave me a hug first thing in the morning. And when I did something that wasn't like that you didn't like, that you stopped me right in the moment and told me about it. Amazing. You told me what you wanted, and that's clear and concise, and our mind can comprehend that, and that's what it's going to do. So I know it's a tangent, it's off on it, but it was something that you said right at the beginning that I was like, I want people to latch onto that because it's something that is so profound, and we often don't think about it in that context.
Dude, that's a solid way to start this. We have to focus on what we want, but a lot of the times we focus on what we don't want. It's so true. That's so true.
It's
Great
just a
point.
simple default.
I love it. So tell me the idea of creating it, and then let's get into the leverage part right after.
Yeah, absolutely. So at 13 years old, my father told me, I was a hockey player, grew up in Canada, obviously born with skates on, and we're we're like forever. I wanted to be play in the NHL, and so at 13 years old, I'm playing with 16-year-olds. First time I really didn't stand out, and my father said to me, "Son, talent will get you noticed, but consistency will get you paid." And it was something that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, consistency. It seems like that's what I should be after. It seems like that's what I should be seeking. And so at that point, I was like, okay, what can I control that's in my control? And I went down this deep rabbit hole. At 13, 14, 15 years old, I started to read every medical journal you could, knew the glycemic index inside and out, was reading every research article I could on sleep, nutrition, exercise, recovery, was wearing heart rate monitors to sleep, was wearing blood oximeters to understand how my body was processing oxygen, was wearing brave lane sensors. And ultimately, I started to live in accordance to like optimizing my health, because that was the best way that I could show up in the most consistent version. And so I came from there to get, ultimately it guided my educational path through everything through my bachelor's degree to my master's degree to my postgraduate research in heart rate variability, sleep, and recovery science, and blessed me with a 15-year career in the National Hockey League and the NCAA as a performance director, helping to optimize health and recovery for these professional athletes. Now, obviously, there's a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of downs. There's a lot of tough times in my life that I kind of got through to get there. But that's kind of what the end result was. In 2018, I started to have this like deep-seated feeling inside of me, like there's more for you. Like you're meant to do more. And I got really restless. This entrepreneurial bug I'd had in my system forever. But I never considered myself an entrepreneur. I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I just saw myself as this nerd and performance guy that dealt with professional athletes. And quite frankly, my ego would not let me leave the National Hockey League. I needed that NHL logo on my chest. I needed that team logo on my chest to be worth anything. And I went to a speech that Magic Johnson gave in 2018, and he talked about his last year. He was signed in the Lakers. He asked for the emails and phone numbers of those that had seasons tickets on the floor. And he made it his mission the last year and a half to take every single one of those people for lunch. Nobody's going to turn down a dinner with Magic Johnson. So he went with the key point of like learning from them. They've all been successful. They're all entrepreneurs. They're all business people. And to this day, about 20 of them are still his business partners. And so I was like, you know what? I'm blessed to be in the National Hockey League. And so I had to pick myself up because I was like, I'm going to quit. I'm going to leave. I just been through a divorce. My life was completely imbalanced. I had no energy management whatsoever. And my life was a disaster. But on the outside looking in, it was glorious. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to man up. I'm going to step up, and I'm going to actually lead in a way that I should. And so I knew I was on the road for 82 days that season. I was like, I'm going to meet with 50 entrepreneurs in every city I was in. So I headed to where? LinkedIn. That's where everybody lives. And so I started cold emailing people or messaging people who were successful in these cities that we were traveling to. And I said, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm looking to do. Would you take a lunch with me? Well, I sent out probably 120 messages. I got 85 responses, and 75 people said yes. And so over the course of that year, I met with about 75 people and took them all for lunch. And the funny thing is the moment people started to say, like, I came to them for help, they were like, you are the performance director for an NHL club. Like, can you help me with the exact same way you helped them? I was like, I guess so. And so I ended up with like 50 private clients. And that shot this like amazing realization that like people want more energy. People are struggling with this. They don't know how to sleep. They don't know how to act in accordance to what their body's asking them. They don't know how to listen to their body. They're so stressed that it's creating chronic health issues that they don't know how to overcome. And I have the answer and solution. Wow, let's make it a mission. So in 2019, I started Own It with those 50 clients. And about halfway through, my wife at the time was a executive VP at a luxury fashion brand. And she had taken them from about 300 million to about 2.8 billion over the course of 6 years. And she was feeling that same way, like antsy. I want to leave. I want to do something. But she was amazing at building teams. She knew business. She had a background in psychology and behavior psychology. And so I said to her, you know what, would you meet with a couple of my clients who are struggling with like getting over a barrier, a couple bumps in the road? She's like, sure. Well, lo and behold, the two people that met with her, like all of a sudden took off like a hockey stick effect of like the results they were getting, and it hit us. You cannot treat the mind separate from the body because the mind body being is one entity. And that was the big like aha takeaway, is that we have to treat the body holistically and in an integrated way, and under one roof. And so Own It at its core is helping us understand how our body is physically made through deep internal testing from DNA, epigenetic, cellular, nutrient dysfunction, and then being able to now orchestrate these 8 controllables in our life: nutrition, exercise, sleep, environment, self-care, hydration, and mindset in a very, and immune function in a very important and integrated way that's personalized to you, while also understanding what your different is. What's your purpose? What's your passion? What do you lean into? What gives you energy? What fuels you? What's standing in your way? What's your inner critic that's holding you back from actually feeling and realizing the potential that's there? And so kind of fast forwarding to today, we're a team of 39 serving in about 5 different verticals, from athletics to professional athletes to NCAA programs to corporate wellness, and then one-on-ones, as well as now we're heading into our 4th Live Better retreat at Auberge Resorts in Mexico in September. So we can talk a little bit about that at the end, but that's kind of what our what Own It has become, and kind of the road in which we've gone down to get there.
It sounds like you had your own mindset shift in the process of discovering Own It. Like you were going one direction, and then you decided to finally go this other direction, and that was it. And then it just blew up. Tell me about that mindset shift, because I'm assuming that it was a transition. And even when you were there, you're like, where am I? And then you kept growing into it. And I think that we can all relate to that. It's like, what are we doing? How's this working? Tell me about that process.
Yeah. So you're exactly right. It's nothing unique. We all have to reinvent ourselves multiple times a year and multiple times in a lifetime. One time you see yourself as an author, then maybe you see yourself as an executive, then you see yourself as an entrepreneur, then you see yourself as a real estate mogul. And then when you first start doing something, everyone's heard about this imposter syndrome, and of like, anytime you do something new, you're not going to see yourself as that thing right away. You have to lean into that. You build credibility with yourself by doing tough things on purpose. And so for me, getting outside of my comfort zone and understanding, yeah, I am an entrepreneur. I am creative. I can depend on myself. I am willing to bet on myself. I'm not willing to sit back and stay in this egocentric space, which is what was keeping me in the NHL, but rather lean into what my true God-given like gift was. And that comes back to like, own your different. We are each made different. We are each made so differently. And oftentimes that thing that makes us different is maybe something we were made fun of, is something that is where we see as a blemish, we are embarrassed about, we see as a really hard time that we want to stay away from, we want to hide from it. But in actuality, that different is what makes us is what our talent is what our value is what we can ultimately provide to the rest of the world.
How do we start discovering more of that in us?
Awareness. Awareness, I think, is the number one thing. We live in this world, this society where it's like go, 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 rush, 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 continue to do. And there's two things I want to hit on here. One is, because we live in this continual like doing world, we never actually sit back and reflect. And we never go through these seasons. And what I mean by that is forever we've been taught that it's this energy, or this time management world, where it's like, I need to manage my day. I need to get this meeting booked in here. I need to go back to back. I need to make sure that I'm just go, get as much done as I can in this 24-hour period. But if I said to you, hey, Tristan, I've got an amazing investment for you. You're going to give me $1,000. And I'm going to give you that $1,000 back. What would you say? Of course not. Beat it, bud.
Hell yeah.
Not a chance. But yet with time, we're like, I'm going to invest as much energy as I can to managing my time. But I don't care who you are. I don't care how well you manage your time. You only have 24 hours in the day. I've never yet seen one person get 24 hours in 1 second. And so if we can shift this mindset process to managing time, to managing energy, time becomes obsolete. Because now what we are ending up doing is we're focusing on how we feel. We're focusing on us. So instead of seeing now this process of life as a marathon, this slow, arduous drubbing on of just like continual, like energy sucking day-to-day, like doldrums, we see it as seasons. I'm going to push really hard for the next 2 months. I'm going to go, and then I'm going to give myself a week in Cancun with my wife. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to push again really hard, because I know that this is my business growth phase. And I'm going to go and push for 2 weeks. And then I'm going to take that third week and I'm going to go and reflect on everything that's just gone on, so I can now push back hard and get even more done and maybe even more productive. And so you can take that on the macro, like, how do you break up your year? Like, is it February and March that are really hard pushes, and then April we're going to back off? You can take it on the meso. So like, hey, looking at April, what 3 weeks are going to be a little bit more of my push weeks? What week am I going to back off? Then you can take it on the micro. Okay, looking at my week, what days of the week am I going to push? And then what am I going to back off a little bit more? And then even down to the micro, which is the day. Okay, if I'm going to go and wake up and push real hard from 5 till 8, at 8 o'clock, I'm doing energy in work, where I'm going to now replenish myself so that now from 9 till noon, I can push again. And now your work day, that before you're like, hey, yeah, like 16-hour days, I'm just like, I'm burnt out, I'm exhausted. Yeah, you've been doing 16-hour days for the last, what do you expect? Yeah. It's like, hey, how about if we were able to do 16-hour days and feel energized and fulfilled and being aware and productive, not just of the energy that you're investing into your business, but now the energy you're investing into yourself, into your family, into your kids, into your spouse, into things that you love. And that's what creates this holistic nature that is sustainable, that is something that is truly focusing on you, the entity. Well, I talked to a team the other day, Fortune 500 company, and I said, we have to get rid of the mentality of this we mentality, this like everybody, this team mentality. Everyone's like, oh my God, Justin, what are you talking about? Like, this is very weird. Like, we were always taught we. No. If you focus on you and you focus on me, the we becomes more powerful. And the moment you start looking at what can I do to make this team better? What can I do to make sure that I show up not as the weakest link? What can I do to make sure that I have the energy to pour into what we need to do as a team to be able to operate? What can I do so that we don't get the same outcomes that we did last year? And we take that me focus of what can I do to better the team, the we becomes untouchable.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. I love, you know what, you sounded like Tony Robbins when he's like, I have this 16-hour days and I have the energy. I'm like, okay, I'm taking notes, man. I'm taking notes. Right? Mark, I'm thinking the same thing, dude.
Exactly.
It's
How do
unique
you,
because when you are able to, and there's two parts of this. This is why we call it, like within Own It, we call it inner and outer energy. So your inner energy is the way that you think, the way you process information, the way that you overcome boundaries, the way that you overcome barriers. Where the outer energy is the physical things you engage in. So if I know what my body's deficient in at the micronutrient level, and it's no longer creating massive chronic inflammation internally that my body's continuing trying to flush, and I can eat, I can exercise, I can supplement, I can sleep based on what my body's actually saying from a quantifiable, data-driven standpoint, of course you're going to be more productive. Of course you're going to be more energized. Of course you're going to be able to lean in, do more, be more impactful. But that's not the way that we live. We live so much by default of like, well, this is just what I guess I have to do. Versus, no, this has been absolutely like curated for me so that I can now flourish and impact more people at a higher level.
I have a question, because you're mentioning managing energy is the key, and I 100% agree with you. There's no other way. How do you guard that energy from all of the other different types of energy that you associate with throughout the day? Because energy is not just within it, it also comes from other people.
100%. And so this is like in our 8 controllables, we talk about self-care and we talk about environment. So those two become really clear, really like important, right? So your environment, it's everything that you see, taste, touch, smell, and hear. So it's the 5 senses. And so let's say, for example, Tristan, this webinar right now, this for me, even though I'm in my flame, this is still a massive energy out for me. I'm pouring energy out into everybody else. Be it's good. I love this. I could do this all day long, but I've strategically given myself a boundary. I have 30 minutes where I'm going to go get a meditation in, and I'm going to go for a walk on the beach to reground myself so that when I do my next one this afternoon, I'm going to be re-energized to bring this same passion, this same energy, this same flow. Contrary, if I wasn't aware and wasn't managing my energy, I'm after this might go and get on a back-to-back meeting with somebody and have to pour into somebody else. I might go and take my dog for a walk and have to worry about how I'm walking my dog and doing things that are very strategic. Our body doesn't know the difference between physical, mental, spiritual, or emotional stress. Something really important that we have to dial into. That if all of a sudden I get off of this and I start making phone calls to my parents and they've got stuff going on that I'm having to deal with, that's another energy out for me. Mm-hmm. I haven't yet replenished what's inside. And so setting up that boundary in an environmental way, what music am I listening to? What podcast am I listening to? Am I watching the news? So I was saying, if all of a sudden my sister is a really negative person, she's not, but if she was, and I had no boundaries and I just let her, I just continually took her negativity on and on and on, of course, it's going to be an energy drag to me. So making sure that when I associate with her, I'm taking that into account. Hey, I'm going to make sure I'm going to limit my time exposure, but also that I'm going to be making sure that I'm showing up with a full bucket so that it's not draining me to a point where I can't serve anymore. There's a great meme out there, and it's a picture of a person with this little person next to them. And it's basically taking a puzzle piece out of themselves and giving it to this other person that completes them. And it's like, this is what we should all aspire to. And I actually think that's the most selfish thing that you can do, because this big person has like all of these holes all over them. And this little person is complete. I'm like, okay, so if this person's continually just giving pieces away until there's nothing left, what happens to the person that really needs them? What happens to their spouse that they go home to every single night and they're exhausted because they have nothing left to give them? What happens to their kids when they come up and they want to do something with them and they have nothing left? What happens when there's another client, another business person that truly needs them to step up and show up and they have nothing left to give? That is the most selfish person around. What the meme should look like Is it, hey, here's a piece for you, here's a piece for you, here's a piece for you. And oh, I'm stepping away for a second and putting a boundary up so I can replenish my puzzle pieces so I can come back and serve more people.
Mhm.
And that is what we should all aspire to. That management of energy, being able to do that in a very purposeful and intentional way allows you to serve more people, allows you to be more of who you truly are. Somebody said this to me when I was, again, I was young in the industry. I was 26 years old, and I was 3 years into my first director role, and I was burning the candle at both ends. I was at the rink early. I was studying film. I was serving the players. I was serving the coaching staff. I was that guy not giving my spouse any attention whatsoever. And I showed up at the rink. It was probably I had a cold sore on my lip. It was probably my fourth in like 6 months. And he said to me, he goes, Justin, you know what? You are so talented, man. But I would take somebody less talented than you at 100% of their capacity than you at 60%. And it hit me like a ton of bricks right in the face. I was like, I'm literally showing up as 60% of me. I don't want 60% of me.
No,
So
nobody does.
giving that to everybody else.
Mhm.
And that was a thing that clicked for me right away of like, wow, energy management is the foundation to being able to do whatever you want to do at its best level. And it changed the game. It changed the way I saw data. It changed the way that I applied information to everything. It changed the way that I communicated with people. It changed the way that I lived. And ultimately, that's what Own It has become. And that's what this educational experience with us has become. Is like, how do you manage energy to the nth degree so that you can serve more, you can do more, you can be more, and ultimately you can live a life that is in true ownership. You can live differently. When you live different, you get different results.
That's so true, man.
Yeah.
That's so true. I loved it. I love this, man. I'm texting. So we've got nice staff helping us out with everything. I'm texting one of my staff members, and she's like, "This guy's so good."
It's just passion that comes through. It's like, you know what it's like, Tristan, when you've lived something and you've truly like been through an experience that like I haven't gotten down into the doldrums, like that's for another day, but like I've been through divorce, I've been through pill addiction, I've been through depression and suicidal spaces of my life, I've been through anorexia, I've been down there, like I've been fired, like I've been in the spaces that like I think make me a little bit relatable to people in different areas of their life. But looking back on it, I earned every single thing that happened. I earned that because of how I was living, because of my inability to overcome certain beliefs, because of my unwillingness to get over my ego, because of my unwillingness to check myself, because of my unwillingness to change the way I was living. And I earned all those things. But by doing that, it's not, failure is a moment in time. Failure is not a person. At the time, I thought I was a failure. But instead, failure is just an experience. And if you learn from that, which we should, people always say, I don't want to talk about failure. It's just learning experiences. No, man, you failed. That's okay. You're not a failure, but you failed. Learn from it. And then take a different step, take a different action. Change requires choosing different. So change requires choosing different. When we can choose something different, we're going to get a different result. But oftentimes we don't know what that different is because we haven't stepped back from the world of go, 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 go to the world of pour energy out, 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 and sat back and reflected and sat back and said, hey, how can I choose different that means something to me versus choose different that means something to somebody else?
Dude, I love that. We could go on for another 2 hours, by the way, but dude, Justin, we're gonna have to interview you again.
We're gonna do round two.
Round two, round three. I'd love to bring you to different audiences too, because you've got a lot to offer here. Mark, imagine this going deeper into burnout. We didn't even get into burnout. Like,
Oh,
but I
we didn't
started
scratch the
I
surface.
started hearing some of it. It's like, oh, I'm getting there. I got this. So, Justin, where do people go and follow you or learn more about you or your company?
Yeah, so I'm super active on Instagram, at Justin Roeth, so Justin Roth. And then our website is ownitcoaching.com. I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of this. Is we've got our biannual retreat coming up. We're going to Auberge Resorts in Mexico. We've got 2 rooms left. It's a transformational experience. I can't tell you what we see when people come in versus when they leave. It's think about mind, body, spirit connection. You do it with your spouse, you do it with your significant other. You get you out of the environment you're currently in, and we teach you how to live different, and the amazing way in that goes. So you can find that on our website. It's right at the top. Talks right about it, and but yeah, at Justin Roth and ownitcoaching.com.
When is the event in Mexico?
September 21 to 25.
Perfect, man. We'll reach out to you too. This way we can see if we can bring you back on to help you promote that as well. Or anything else you want, man. Some great conversation.
I appreciate genuine connection, man. I love everything that you stand for, Tristan, and all the work that you and Mark do. And again, just connecting deeper at the core and building really solid relationships is really what this is all about. So I appreciate you and your platform.
Well, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for doing this and putting so much energy into this in such a great way. Some great quotes, by the way, that I got from you. So thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Justin.
Awesome, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.